Hi, creative friends. This is Kathy from Easy Sunday Club. You are here because you want to make and sell your own greeting cards. It doesn't have to be overwhelming, and it can be a creatively fulfilling experience. I'm going to try to cut through all the fluff and give you straightforward advice that you can take action on. This is what I would do if I were to start over today. Now, let's start with the one thing you shouldn't do. You shouldn't just watch this video and do nothing. If YouTube brought you here, chances are you want this and you have been thinking about this for a while. I've been sitting on this video for a long time, ever since my last video on this topic hit over 100,000 views. It's hard for me to watch something that I made over 4 years ago, but I know I can do better. So feel free to jump around, come back for refreshers, fast forward, play in 2x or half speed, whatever suits your learning preference. So the 3 key steps to starting a greeting card business are: create a collection, find your buyers, and establish a production process. For simplicity, I'm going to call these 3 things the 3 P's: product, people, and process. None of these steps are set in stone once you decide on one way. In fact, you are definitely going to change how you do things as you go and as you grow. But knowing that relieves you of the pressure to get it right the first time. So for your initial collection, I recommend starting with at least 12 cards, focusing on a consistent style or theme. Hey, if you end up with 11, 15, or 20, knock yourself out. If you have 50 designs you've been hiding in your drawer, that's great too. But as long as they have a consistent style, because that's going to make your collection look more cohesive and for other people to take you more seriously. In terms of what kind of cards, birthday cards sell the best. According to research, I forget where I read the stats, but typically about half of cards sold in retail stores are birthday cards, so use that data to inform your first collection. However, don't be afraid to go the road less traveled and focus on a small niche. For example, I think it would be really cool to have a collection of greeting cards that focus on life transitions like leaving a job, retiring, marriage, divorce, etc. You can get really creative with ideas if you enforce a healthy constraint. And ideas will always be more successful if they come from your own inspiration, interests, and personal experience, not from researching through the ends of the internet for that one new idea. For example, my friend Mandy, who is a physician, started a side hustle selling greeting cards among other products that have clever medical puns with her illustrations on it. And it speaks to a lot of healthcare workers and also gives her a platform to experiment her creative ideas. So my point is, besides birthdays and holidays, there's a long list of occasions people get cards for, and sometimes there's no occasion at all. For example, one of my best-selling cards that's not really tied to any occasion is this U-Slay card. So make a list of themes that you want to focus on, but don't try to cover every single occasion. Here's a sample of an initial collection that you can reference. This is just a starting point, so edit it to your own preference. So out of the 12 cards, I recommend making 4 birthday cards, 2 holiday cards, 1 Mother's Day card, 1 Father's Day, 2 love or friendship or Valentine's Day cards, or anniversary, and 2 congratulations card. The reason why I want to spread it thin for among 6 occasions, but not try to cover a lot more, is that initially you're going to have fewer customers, but you want them to have more reasons to buy, an order of maybe 3 or 4 cards from you versus just making 12 birthday cards at once. So that's kind of the reasoning behind it. But like I said, feel free to edit to your own liking. So on my website, Easy Sunday Club, I have about 50 cards. I sell most of my cards wholesale to retail stores. And if I were to think about it, the 20-80 rule magically applies here. The 20-80 rule basically indicates 80% of your sales come from 20% of your products. And for me, that's definitely true. I feel like 8 to 10 of my cards kind of carry most of my sales there. But that's something you have to experiment over time to see what does well consistently. And just keep trying different creative ideas. Once you have a collection, you'll want to streamline your card making process as much as possible. At this point, you're probably making every card by yourself, so get familiar with this process and find something that makes it enjoyable. If you don't have the budget for a new printer, outsource it to a professional printer is the way to go. But know that your profit margin will be hurt because the cost of hiring another company just to print your cards, most likely in small quantity in the beginning, will be high. Don't worry too much about unit cost and profit in the beginning though. Focus on identifying designs that people connect to and will buy. You can always optimize the cost later. If you do have a printer at home or can afford one, printing yourself is going to give you a lot more flexibility. Some of the small format printers that print professional looking greeting cards cost around $250 plus. The cost of ink will vary largely by the brand and the number of ink cartridges it comes with. But as I said, if you don't want to own a printer right now, outsource it or even ask around friends or neighbors and family if they are willing to loan you a printer or if they let you come over to do an hour printing session. We have a video just on printers on our YouTube channel if you want to check it out, and it has recommendations on different printers at different price ranges from $250 to over $2,000. This is the process I use to print my cards from home. Now, if you make digital art or photo cards, then you can skip the first step because your art is already digitized. But if you create traditional medium art like watercolor, the one piece of equipment I believe is a must-have is a scanner. Even if you outsource the printing job to a professional service, you still need to digitize your art in order to get it formatted and printed. I have an Epson V600 scanner and a separate video on scanners at different budget, but I love my Epson V600. I've been using it since 2016 and it still works really well. The scanner bed can comfortably scan 8.7 by 11.7 inch art, which is more than enough for a greeting card. I usually make my greeting card design at 8 by 10 or smaller, and I save the scan image as a TIFF file, TIFF, which is compatible with Adobe Photoshop, because according to Adobe, they use a predominantly lossless form of file compression, which in normal people speak probably means it retains the highest detail of the original image. However, I noticed some printing services will only accept JPEG since TIFF files tend to be much larger in size, so it would be really time consuming to upload it to their website. So you can always resave it as JPEG if needed. And for the size of greeting cards, I have a lot of greeting card files that are saved to JPEG and not TIFF, and I don't think it's a huge deal, but not getting into the nitty-gritty of other differences between the file size, I would say just to keep it simple, if you're not familiar with all the file sizes, JPEG is totally fine for a greeting card image. This is the template I use on Photoshop that allows me to print A2 size cards perfectly on a letter size paper. A2 cardstock size is not to be confused with A2 poster size, which is a lot bigger. If you're not in the US, you can use similar template on the common sizes in your country, but to keep things streamlined, I would definitely only offer one size to start. I also offer these greeting card templates in A2, A6, and A7 sizes if you want to check them out in my links below. They make it easy for you to copy paste in your own image and whatever you want to put in the back, and you can hit print on the appropriate paper sizes and streamline your process that way. Once I print them out in batches, I use an electric creasing machine to score them down the middle to prepare them for cutting and packaging. If you're just starting out, of course, you don't need this machine. You can hand score them by using a hand scorer like this Martha Stewart scoring board. After scoring, I then cut them using one of my favorite art tools, the paper trimmer. This trimmer has been with me since 2016 and it still works perfectly. It cuts with precision and they're a lot safer than the guillotine, I don't know if I pronounced that right, trimmers, that especially if you have kids at home. So now that your card is scored and you have a bifold greeting card, insert the envelope in the middle and you have a complete card. I have a separate video where I talk about how I package and ship my greeting cards, but one thing I do want to add is I'm trying to reduce plastic use as much as possible. So when someone buys a card online, I may try to package the cards in a glycine bag or tissue paper to give it extra protection. However, if I'm shipping a wholesale order where they buy in bulk and need to display the cards on a shelf, having transparent packaging is necessary, which unfortunately means plastic packaging. However, again, I've been working with a few longtime retailers who said they would be okay to display the cards without any packaging, so that's good news for Earth. It's always good to ask them proactively. Sometimes, a lot of retailers care as much about the environment as we do, so that's an option there. And just to show you really quick, this is the rigid envelope that I use to ship smaller orders of 6 cards or less. I know a lot of makers ship single cards in a slightly bigger envelope because the shipping cost is lower and you can literally just slap a stamp on it. It doesn't provide as much protection, but it is a lot cheaper to ship. I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty of the pros and cons in this video, but that's definitely an option if you want to be economical. I just prefer using the rigid envelope, and the shipping usually comes with tracking. If a customer orders more cards or other items like art prints, then I will need to use a bigger rigid envelope like this or a box, depending on what else they order. Okay, a quick break. And no, this is not a sponsored ad. But did you know that I have a newsletter? I don't really promote it on YouTube, but a lot of people who found me on YouTube found the link to sign up. And I've been enjoying hearing from them when I send out these newsletters, which is really no more than once a month. I've started to write more long-form content there. And the type of content is a little different than the content I put out on YouTube. It's more about behind the scenes of running an art business, life, being a mom, and running a business, juggling all the things. So if you're interested in that and in keeping in touch there, and I will put the link here below the video description. Once you have a collection, you'll want to come up with a new hypothesis on who you think will buy these cards. The best test in the beginning, when you haven't generated any sales, is to truly ask yourself, would you buy this card for someone you know? If the answer is the definite yes, then you're on the right track. If you only make designs that you think will be popular because you see it do well somewhere on the internet, sooner or later you'll find yourself burning out because you don't truly enjoy the creative process. When we first start making things, the first people that will notice us are probably our friends and family, but they aren't always our target customers. Their support means the world. But in order for you to build a business out of your creation, however small or big, you will have to expand your circle. I'll come back to this point in a little bit, but I do want to say that support can come in different forms, not just monetary. It could be a repost of your post on social media. It can be a conversation where they talk about you when you're not in the room in a positive way. Those are truly the best kind of support that any of us can get in the beginning of our journey. So how do you find your customers? If you're looking for a step-by-step blueprint, I hate to break it to you, but I don't have it. And if anyone else wants to sell it to you, they're lying. But if I were to sum up the strategy in an oversimplified way in bullet points, it would be to take good photos and start an Etsy shop. Don't rush to build your website unless you're comfortable with the work that's involved. Reach out to local gift shops, novelty stores, even coffee shops who are open to supporting local artists and work with you on consignment or wholesale. Apply to local arts and craft fairs. Start with the small ones that should be less competitive. This is where having an Etsy store or an online portfolio like your social media profile will help you look more legitimate in front of the juror who are deciding who to approve to attend these arts and craft fairs. And lastly, use word of mouth. It will reach people that social media can't. And this is a good segue to social media. In recent years, I found that the content and sheer volume of noise on social media, it just makes it really hard to stand out. On top of that, the algorithm is ever changing and everyone's complaining about losing followers, engagement, etc. And I think people collectively are just experiencing social media fatigue. I feel like it's really hard to capture consistent attention on social media unless you're willing to post frequently and consistently. Even then, results are not guaranteed. But besides these platitudes about social media, let's discuss the consumer psychology a bit. In my experience, most people who see me post a greeting card and buy from me are people that I already know in real life or have already bought from me. If you put yourself in the shoes of your customer, how much would it take you to stop scrolling on Instagram when you see someone post a greeting card, no matter how awesome it is? Actually stop scrolling and then go find the appropriate links and buy the card on the spot? Not very likely. So what's the artist to do? If you do have a personal Instagram account or Facebook or Thread or TikTok, whatever your preference is, leverage what you have. You don't need to start a new art account as a blank slate because a blank slate also means that no one will see it. Plus, the algorithm is usually kinder on personal accounts than business accounts, so you may reach more of your friends and family, which is really where you're starting, and use that to build word of mouth and momentum. So I know it sounds like I have a lot of negative things to say about social media, but I admit partially because I think my personality doesn't quite suit the fast-paced, short-form content, short attention span nature of platforms like Instagram, which is why I'm on YouTube. But I want to give a more balanced view. If you've never tried posting before, then definitely give it a try. Give it like at least 30 days. But I want you to set your expectations. Don't treat everything you post like an ad copy that's going to convert to sales right away or within days. Treat your social media profile more like an online portfolio. A lot of successful freelancers have been able to get a ton of great clients that way. And I personally was able to attract a few great commercial projects through Instagram because I asked them where they found me and they said Instagram. So don't write off that platform right away. But I do want you to kind of observe your energy on like depending on how much you engage on the platform and also set your expectation that you're not going to see results right away. There's actually one more P in the greeting card business that is important, but I don't want to make a big deal out of it because it can sometimes lead to analysis paralysis, and that's paper. I mean, the cardstock that you use for your greeting card can definitely leave an impression on the person who's holding it in their hand, but it's not as important as you, the maker, think it is. That's why I don't want to dedicate a whole section on it in this video because it's already long enough. But if I were to give you one tip, it's that don't be a perfectionist when it comes to choosing a cardstock. A nice white matte cardstock that ranges from 90 to 110 pounds is going to print most greeting cards relatively well. Of course, depending on your art medium, sometimes going a little thinner or thicker will be more suitable. But this is my kind of one-liner advice for you. And that's it for this greeting card masterclass. I hope you learned a thing or three and are ready to implement this in a real way that will help you fulfill your creative dreams. And remember, you don't have to have everything figured out. You just have to take the next step. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.